Hello everyone, welcome to D Squared Stories, an audio fiction podcast bringing you short serialized weekly stories. Today we are on our fifth and final chapter of the heroic adventures of Everyman. I really enjoyed making this one. Embarrassing to admit, but it's probably the most I've ever laughed at my own jokes during editing and recording, so I hope that you found it entertaining as well. As always, stick around to the end if you want a little detail about what's going to be coming up next. But as always, without further ado, let's get into a quick recap and get started. Over the past 3 chapters, Everyman has worked with the heroes of Team RBG to help hone their powers and address issues in their personal life. While Emerald Eye and Bluebird successfully strengthened their relationships with loved ones and their powers, Red Racer lost on his dream of being a top racer and gave up on his other dream of being a hero. Meanwhile, strange occurrences have been drawing top hero Nationman to investigate pharmaceutical giant F&F and crack down on protests against them. Heroes such as Periwinkle Pirate have mysteriously been losing their powers. Nationman appeared to let the dastardly villains, Black Biker, Violet Violence, and Grey Grudge out of prison for some unknown reason. What could possibly be the meaning of all of this? Chapter 5. Enter Nationman. Grey Grudge threw cars across the financial district and crashed his way through a building as he attempted to crush people under his rocky gray flesh. Violet Violence sprayed her wicked smog over the people just trying to flee the scene. Black Biker took entire buildings off their foundation as he simply tapped the supports underneath. The 3 cackled together as they caused mayhem. "What a wonderful day for destruction, isn't it, folks?" Black Biker asked. "Wherever are the heroes who normally come to save the day?" As if on command, Bluebird flew into view, carrying Emerald Eye by her shoulders. The 2 of them landed before the villains to confront them. "You guys again?" Emerald asked. "I thought we locked you up. Guess we'll just have to do it again," Blue said. "You lock us up? Last time I checked, it was Everyman who did that to us. Where is he? I want to settle the score. Our time in the cells have made us much stronger," Violet said. Everyman pulled up to the scene with his iconic electric vehicle. It seemed like the back 2 seats were loaded full of stuff. He got out. There was a sense of urgency to him, quite uncharacteristic of his normally chipper attitude. "Bluebird, Emerald Eye, be careful," he said. "I just got some distressing news from HQ. I had a suspicion that something wasn't right. I filled up this car with—" "Team huddle over," Grey Grudge said, slamming into the ground, causing debris to go into the air. Black Biker chuckled maniacally as he touched the chunks as they went flying in their direction. Everyman tackled his 2 team members to the ground, but he was narrowly clipped by a piece. "This is bad," he thought. "His abilities have improved. He's sending stuff at us with up to double the speed of the strength of gravity. And that's not even the worst part." Black went to touch more of the debris. Everyman winced as he was not going to be able to dodge it this time. Just as it looked like it was about to hit them, a car swerved in the way and blocked it. The 3 of them looked up to the car window as it rolled down. Red Racer winked and smiled at them. "Need a hand?" he asked. "Hey, I thought you went and quit on us," Blue said. "I may not feel like a hero, but I know I'm no coward, and I'm not leaving my comrades to fend for themselves." Everyman smiled, then quickly turned to scowl at Black Biker and crew as they clapped sarcastically as they approached. Well, if it isn't the Pokemon Cartridge Color Gang and Inspector Gadget. Reunited again. This is exactly what I was hoping to see." Emerald stepped forward. She lit flames from the scrapes on her knees and hands that she got from diving to the pavement. "We've gotten a lot stronger, too. What makes you think you can take all 4 of us down?" "Well, let's just say that this time we have a bit of an emotional support hero. I think I see him now, actually." Everyman grimaced as he saw the figure come down from the sky. The white spandex suit and black cape, the crescent moon emblazoned on the middle of a black flag, all came into view. Nationman floated down, crossing his arms. "Please stand down, RBG and Everyman," he said. "These 3 were only causing this destruction to lure you out." "What? Nationman?" Red asked. "What are you doing? What do you mean to lure us out?" Nationman looked wistfully into the sky. He looked ready to answer, but Everyman interrupted. "Red, Nationman stole hundreds of vials of an experimental superpower nullifying solution from Frankenstein and Frankenstein. He's been systematically going around and using it on all of his superheroes, and those outside of his orbit." "What? Why?" Emerald asked. "Why?" Nationman scoffed. "What an idiotic question. Since the advent of superheroes and villains, destruction and casualties have spiked. This world has been thrown into even more chaos than it was before." "I get you, but things could get pretty rough before superpowers too," Blue said. Why don't we use this serum selectively on people who use their powers for evil? Tell me, Bluebird, who is evil? The scamp who steals things for an orphanage? The woman who kills those whose actions have indirectly killed others? If we try to come to a committee on this, we're just going to end with the same political turmoil that has tortured humanity for a millennia. We need one righteous and just person to take this on the back for all of us. One person more powerful than all the others to make the definitive call. Red shook his head. You're delusional. You're not just wiping the world of superpowers. You're trying to install yourself as a god over all of us. Not trying, Red. Doing. Nationman charged full force towards them. Everyman jumped in front of them. Nationman growled as he grabbed Everyman by his collared shirt and yanked him up several meters into the air, flying off with him. Emerald screamed out towards them. Everyman! Bluebird had to step in front of her and flap his wings with great force to divert the onslaught of rubble and purple smoke that headed their way. Red spun out his car and revved it up. Focus, he said. He'll be fine. He always is. Our fight is down here. Red sped his car out and over towards Black. Black narrowly tapped his fingers together to send himself flying backwards to dull the impact of Red's car slamming into him. Red continued to move at high speeds, crashing him into whatever telephone poles or streetlights he could use to try and break his bones without hurting anyone else. Black, beneath his helmet, smiled mischievously as he managed to grab the side mirror of Red's car. The car started to fly up into the air. So long, Red Racer! The car was about 10 meters in the air before the side mirror detached from it and went flying into the sky. Then the car came crashing back down to the earth. Black had to roll out of the way just to avoid being crushed by it. He then touched the pavement, causing it to peel up into the air to try to take the car with it. Red drove the car in circles, dodging the asphalt as it came loose from the ground. He revved fast and kicked up the dust from underneath. Suddenly, he was circling around Black Biker, with a cloud of dust obscuring everything in sight. Moron! Black said, voice quiet under the sounds of the engine. I guess you forgot about my helmet. I can see through this probably better than you can. All I have to do is wait for you to try and hit me, and then I'll get the jump on you. He paused as he noticed the car stop and start to rev wildly in one spot. He smirked as he stepped towards the sound, and the dust slowly started to fade. Gotcha! You'll be nothing without this car! He dove towards the car, but paused, noticing that no one was in it. He groaned in pain as his helmet was cracked by a powerful swing of a tire iron. He staggered backwards deliriously as Red stood outside of the car with iron in hand. You know, someone once told me it's not my powers that make me a hero. Let's see if I can prove them right. Meanwhile, Bluebird deftly dodged swarms of purple particles in the air. He quickly soared through the sky as she attempted to use civilians to distract him. He continued to waft her haze away as he waited for an opening. When he saw it, he launched a few feathers right towards her in an attempt to stick them onto her. She momentarily went blind as she plucked each feather off rather than taking her mask off. She went falling backwards, but not before unleashing a puff of purple smoke onto his face. Blue coughed up some feathers and blew through his nostrils. The feathers had absorbed the toxic substance before it could get into his lungs. His goggles were covered, though. She cackled as she picked the rest of the feathers off her and stood back up. What are you going to do now, hotshot? She asked. She stared in awe as Blue just took his goggles off. Be a little more careful, I guess, he said. You're just taking them off? You don't even care that you're in public and everyone will know who you are. I've learned to be true to myself. Maybe you should try it. He launched another volley of feathers to go toe-to-toe with her. A block over, Emerald Eye tiptoed around Grey Grudge, who was thrashing about, unable to find her. Every once in a while, she would blast him with searing hot blue flames, causing him to writhe in pain and his nearly impenetrable armor to slowly chip and melt away. Gah, I am so sick of you, he said. He charged into a building and just started trying to thrash into anyone he could see. How do you like this? I'm killing people and you can't stop me. Face me or I'll crush this lady's head, he said as he held up a hostage by the throat. Emerald calmly walked in and just stared up at him. She could see the wicked smile behind his gray armored face. I see. You think you'll get to me because I can't do everything for everyone? She smiled. Well, that won't get to me because I'm going to focus on what matters. She lit up bright blue, and Gray held the woman out in front of him. But instead of blasting her, she shot the flames at the floor, causing it to melt underneath him. Gray staggered as he fell through, into the basement, and Emerald quickly lunged to grab the lady and pull her free before she could go down with him. Up in the sky, Everyman was having a little less of a good time. He felt at least one rib shattered from a punch he took, and he was contorting his body every which way while being dragged at high speeds through the air to avoid having his face caved in. "You know, I thought you might get it," Nationman said. "If you were in my shoes and had the ability to have world-bending power, would you not shape it in your own image? Have one superior hero to rule the world and defend its citizens from evil?" "You must know nothing about me, then," Everyman said. "I'm a hero who could be anyone. I fight for everyone, to show everyone that anyone can be a hero. You think you're the only one capable of being a hero? In that way, we are complete opposites." "Then you can take your naive ideology and die with it." He threw Everyman into a building. There was a small crater left in the wall where he threw him. Nationman flew in close and rolled his eyes. Everyman was slowly staggering up to his feet. An airbag in his backpack cushioned the impact. Nationman charged again to try and deliver a fatal punch through his chest. When he got into range, though, Everyman's front pouch airbag activated. Nationman spun to readjust himself, but when he looked around, Everyman had snuck away. He heard the faintest footsteps creeping up on him from behind a nearby car, and immediately jolted over to Everyman and grabbed him by the throat. "Did you really think you could sneak up on me? I have every super sense imaginable. My hearing is about 20 times more sensitive than yours." Everyman gurgled. "I am counting on that." He held an air horn in his hand and held it directly in Nationman's ear and blasted it at full volume. Nationman groaned in pain as his ear bled, and he thrust Everyman into the ground and flew into the sky to put some distance between the two of them. He stared down and felt his ear. He brought his hand to his face. He saw his own blood, something he had not seen in years since getting his powers. He stared down in abject rage at Everyman. "You've deeply angered me now, Everyman," he said. "I thought I would be a gentleman and just kill you without fanfare. Now I intend to humiliate you and disprove your ideology before your own eyes." Nationman dashed off through the sky, splitting an apartment complex in two diagonally. The building started to collapse on its side. Everyman took in his surroundings. He saw a nearby utility bucket truck. Everyman called out, "Everyone, please help evacuate the people in this building." He ran into the building with no regard for his own safety, pulling people out of the collapsing rubble. The lineman watching rolled the truck over to try to give people a way out from the upper floors as they collapsed. He dragged people who had their legs crushed out of the building, sometimes 2 by 2, exerting himself more than ever before. He was thrust into the air again by Nationman. "No, you don't," he said. "Don't you see? You can't be a hero. Not while I'm around." Everyman spit in his face. "Look again, you pessimistic punk." Nationman looked back down to see every able-bodied person in the area, rushing towards the building. The utility workers in the bucket truck were using it to lift people out and send others into the top of the building to pull them out. Off-duty paramedics and EMTs treated to the wounded, as others called emergency services. All those people needed to spring into action was to see one person doing it first. Nationman scowled and pulled his head back around to look at Everyman, who was ready to meet him with pepper spray. "No one person can be greater than the collective of people coming together and supporting each other. I don't care how powerful you are. You're going down. If not by my hand, then by the hand of one of the millions of other good people on this planet." Nationman flung his arm out and threw Everyman towards the ground, but Everyman activated his parachute just in time to safely land. However, back over with RBG, things took a dramatic turn. Emerald was flaming down gray, getting to the end of his stone armor. Blue was covering Violet with feathers, rendering her powers useless. Red was driving around and smashing Black with his door, which he automatically opened and closed. All of the three villains suddenly whipped something out of their back pockets and sprayed the heroes with it. Emerald stumbled back, flames no longer shooting from her blood vessels. Blue felt great pain as his wings permanently retracted into his back. Red sensed the vehicle he was in stopped responding to him. "No, this can't be," Emerald said. "Oh, but it can be," Gray said before tossing a mailbox at her. "My powers are gone," Blue said. "Yep, now there's nothing to stop us," Violet said. The three started to get cornered back into the same city block. Black laughed with wicked delight as he got closer and closer to Red, who stared looking downcast. "What's wrong, little buddy?" he asked. "Sad that you're not a hero anymore?" Red got out of the car. Black still approached him menacingly. Then Red swung upwards, clocking him with a tire iron, shattering the rest of the glass in his helmet. "Really? Says who?" he asked, repeatedly decking Black with his tire iron before managing to clip his hand and having the iron go up into the sky. "Blue and Emerald, don't you dare give up. Everyman taught us better than that. We don't need powers to be heroes." Emerald smirked. "Right on." Blue ran over to Everyman's car. Before he left, he said he filled this up with something. Let me take a look. Not so fast. Gray moved in front of him. Blue, back up, Emerald shouted. He did as she said. A truck from up a hill was pushed down by several protesters and crashed right into Gray. Emerald smiled as she saw Jocelyn among the group. Got your back, sis. I got your truck, Gray said. He lifted the truck that crashed into him and threw it at the protesters. They all braced for impact, but the nearby power lines reached out and intercepted the truck. Sparkling Sparkson stood there, wagging his finger and winking to taunt the Gray brute. Blue made it over to the car and opened it up. Y'all, you won't believe this. He has flamethrowers, a jetpack, and explosive RC cars, he said. Turns out Everyman had been a little less than honest on his Hero Corporation report on what he did with the confiscated materials he took from Maserat and Fordwell. However, a sphere of smoke consumed Blue and threatened to close in on him, as Violet cackled. She was slightly interrupted by a woman hitting her with a baseball bat. You leave my fiancé alone, Maureen said. Maureen, no, get out of here, Blue said from the cloud. Oh, is this little woman your love, Bluebird? She's a wretched, ugly thing. She conjured more smoke to terrorize Maureen, but then she heard a voice that drew her attention. You think that woman is ugly? Is that really true? A woman in a lavender hood stood before them. Yes, of course I do. She's a little hag. Violet hunched over in pain, grabbing at her stomach as it burst into a big lesion. The woman just chuckled and continued taunting her. And do you think you're pretty? Or do you know just how ugly you are? I won't answer that, she said, but she continued to have her skin ripple into smaller lesions and cast out more smoke towards Lavender. Red ran over to try and free Blue from his cell of smoke, but Black was flying in the same direction as him, hand outstretched to try to grab him and change the pull of gravity on him. Right before he could get there, though, Raspberry Reflex slid in, grabbing Black by the wrist and slamming him face down into the ground, not letting him touch either of them. He looked over towards Red and gave him a solemn nod. Red just nodded back. Using his scarf, he swatted away the smoke, ruining it, but freeing Blue. Blue put on the jetpack and was able to take to the skies again. Emerald equipped her flamethrower and started shooting them. Red swapped out his big car for the multiple explosive ones he had now. Emerald managed to swipe 2 of the vials of a serum from Grey Grudge while he was on the ground. She tossed one to Blue, and the 2 of them sprayed Violet and Grey in the face, nullifying their powers. Backed with the reinforcements of loved ones and former enemies, the tides had once again turned in favor of RBG. However, as the tides followed the pull of the moon, the appearance of the Crescent One emblazoned on Nationman's outfit seemed to immediately pull them back against them. Everyman was chucked to the ground. His face was bloody and his body bruised, just about everywhere that he could be bruised. Despite this, he still wobbled back to his feet shakily after landing. Nationman floated above them. Useless drones, he said, looking at the 3 villains. This is all the more to my point. I alone can fix this world. All you runts are doing is delaying the inevitable. Sparkling zapped Nationman with a giant blast of lightning. He just stuck out his arm, the lightning seeming unable to even burn him. He flew in close and pulled a vial and sprayed him in the face, causing his powers to dissipate. Lavender asked him a question. He simply blew out of his mouth, and a burst of air made her lose sight of him. When she next opened her eyes, she was sprayed in the face. He turned his attention towards Raspberry Reflex. Almost as fast as sound, he blasted over towards him. But Raspberry, used to flirting with a sound barrier himself, deftly struck his left hand in time to knock the vial out of his hand and onto the ground. The force of Nationman's speed towards him still knocked him onto his back all the same. Nationman raised his foot, ready to stomp Raspberry's head clean off. He turned to see Everyman charging for him, and with a clean chop of his right arm, he took off Everyman's. He smiled with disturbed pride, seeing his foe's arm taken off. The cut was so clean that he hardly bled. However, in this brief moment of distraction, Everyman swung his left arm with a throwing knife in hand and gouged out Nationman's eye, in a cut that was not super clean, and did cause a lot of bleeding. Everyman breathed heavily, gasping as he pulled his arm back and tried to do it again with the other eye. Nationman grabbed his wrist and twisted it, making an awful cracking sound. He slowly raised Everyman into the air, and out of the reach of anyone on the ground. Bluebird charged up into the air with his jetpack, but was sent back by a swift kick from Nationman, injuring his ribs and also causing the jetpack to malfunction and stop working. It's all because of you, isn't it? Nationman asked. They see a worm just like them, powerless, but capable of doing such extraordinary things, and they think they can do that as well. I'll show them that even the most impressive worm belongs in the dirt. I'll crush your skull, slowly and painfully, to make an example of what happens to people who defy me." He wrapped his hands around Everyman's head and started to apply pressure. Everyman struck at him with his remaining fist, but his blows did nothing, and he was all out of things in his tool belt. People down below gasped in shock and horror as they saw this. Emerald rallied everyone. "Come on, we gotta do something to help him," she said. As she said this, chunks of sidewalk, pieces of cars, and other debris went flying at them. Raspberry quickly moved people to safety, but they were pinned down. Red growled angrily, and then saw something at his foot. He picked it up. He then started running towards Black, trying to dodge the projectiles. "Red, what are you doing?" Raspberry asked. "Shut up and just tell me how to move to get to him," he said, closing his eyes. Raspberry's eyes widened, but with quick bursts, he called out what he saw. "Left, down, back up, right again, down." In time with each call, Red swerved through the hazards as they were launched at him. He got all the way to Black, who just chuckled and then grabbed Red by the wrists as he got close to him. "Nice plan, you simpleton," he said. "I hope you enjoy going to space at twice the speed of gravity." Red smiled. "That's the plan." He looked up to see where Nationman had Everyman trapped as he pressed down on his skull. He kicked back and away from Black Biker as he felt the pull of gravity drawing him up into the air. He gave himself just enough momentum that when he went up, he slid himself right between the two men, causing Nationman to lose his grip. Everyman slipped through and grabbed Red by the leg, hanging onto him for dear life. Nationman clutched Red's throat. "You," he said. "What an absolute mistake I made on you. Below average powers, to the point that you could tell me you still had them, and you'd still be equally a threat. You are the proof that counters every man's ideals. You are nothing. The saddest part, you were really giving everything to this fantasy. Trying to play hero." Red just smirked at him. "Not trying, Nationman. Doing." Red pulled his left arm up and sprayed Nationman in the face with the serum he snagged off the ground. Nationman swung back his arm and punched him in the face. It was a good hit, but only in terms of normal human strength. Red grunted, and with his free leg, kicked Nationman away from him, making him let go of his neck. Nationman fell several stories down onto his back, his ability of flight robbed from him. The crowd of people on the ground below cheered. Everyman laughed, still holding onto Red's leg. "You did it, Red Racer! You just saved the entire world!" he said. "I told you that you were a hero!" Red smiled down, tears in his eyes as he stared at his friend, though he bit his lip, noticing he was being pulled more and more up into the air, even with Everyman as a counterweight. The two were slowly getting higher and higher in the air. He looked at a nearby tall building that was still in good shape. He swung his leg back and forth like a pendulum. "Everyman, this is, I think, where we say goodbye," he said. "I can swing you over to that building, and that way we won't both have to head up into space. Please, tell everyone that I love them, and it was great fighting alongside them." "Red Racer, I am not going to let you do that. I am going to slow you down until they can figure out a way to get us both out of here safely." "That's not going to happen," he said. "It's fine. I'm fine. You don't have to worry about me. I finally got to be a hero. I finally proved that I was worth something." "Red Racer, you shut your mouth. You were always worth something. Worth something to your friends, the people you saved, the people you inspired. I am not letting you die. Your days of being a hero are just beginning." On the ground, emergency vehicles started to arrive. Police, ambulances, even the utility truck that helped Everyman evacuate people had showed up to see what they could do to be of use. Bluebird angrily slapped the jetpack, trying to get it to start working again, to no avail. Emerald got in the bucket of the truck. They navigated right below the two were still flying in the air, but they were still just out of reach. Raspberry Reflex stood against Black Biker, dodging his debris, but not knowing what to do. He was unaware of any more serums that he could use against him. He did not know if knocking Black unconscious would do anything, or if that would just prevent him from ever being able to reverse it in time. That was when he noticed something peculiar on the ground, an item he was quite familiar with bumping up against. Red Racer's mirror. He had watched the mirror go up into the sky when it was disconnected earlier. He racked his brain to use the most important power of all. If that came back down, Raspberry thought to himself, that means Black's powers must have a range. But how can I convince him to get out of range of Red? He turned around, using his hyper-fast reflexes to take in anything he could see. All he could see, though, was Blue and Emerald frantically doing anything they could to save their friends. Then he turned to see Black's face. He was not fully fixated on fighting him. He occasionally turned to see the police, starting to cuff the depowered Violet Violence and Grey Grudge. Raspberry pointed out to them. "Black Biker," he said. "Your allies are being taken away. You should act now if you want to save them." Black saw his family start to get loaded into a police car. He turned to Raspberry. "This is a trick. You're trying to trick me." "If I am, what choice do you have? With Nationman defeated, there's no hope of you ruling this day. Let's agree to fight another one." Raspberry stepped out of his way, lowering his guard and no longer fighting. Black grimaced. He tapped his fingers together and launched off towards them. He snagged his friends out of the custody of police and held onto their wrists, maneuvering their gravity to be with his, moving at double the acceleration. Raspberry looked up. Just when it looked like Red and Everyman were about to be whisked into the sky forever, they started to turn around. They landed with a heavy thud in the bucket, which nearly collapsed under their weight. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief as the bucket was lowered, and Everyman was escorted into an ambulance. Everyman had to have a lot of surgeries done on his busted internal organs. They induced him into a coma, which lasted a couple of weeks. When he started to come out of it, he was surprised to hear the chatter of people, and see a cake to the right of him. It was designed with his signature collared shirt and Big E right in its place. Right above it, it read, "Happy birthday, Everyman." Hey, he's waking up," Emerald said. "Whoa, that's insane." "What can I say?" Sharon said. "He loves his birthday. Wouldn't miss it for the world." "You get enough of a nap there, man?" Red asked, smiling. He chuckled to himself. "Well, if it isn't my lovely wife and the RBG crew. Quick, let's cut that cake before a doctor tells me I can't have any of it." They cut the cake and each ate a slice as Everyman caught up with everything that was going on with them. Emerald Eye was running for office to try to reduce the corporate influence over the city. Bluebird, to the absolute suspicion of his fiancée, got a job in accounting for a nonprofit that was helping people recover from the recent disasters. Red Racer and Raspberry Reflex teamed up to form a private investigation firm called Quadruple R, cracking some tough cases and trying to track down Black Biker and his affiliates. The duo got some help from part-time contractors like Emerald Eye and Bluebird. After a while, Sharon had to take a call, and the others started to leave. Red lingered a bit in the doorway as the other two walked out. He smiled at Everyman. "You know, I'm still racing," he said. "Oh, you are? That's wonderful," Everyman said. "Yeah, I'm actually not half bad at it. Raspberry's still beating me, but that was true when I had the powers, and now I'm signing way more autographs than he is, now that people know me as the guy who beat Nationman." "That's great, Red Racer. I'm really happy for you." "Yeah, I'm really happy too," he said, biting his lip slightly. "I guess I say all this to say, thanks for never giving up on me. Thanks for always thinking of me as a hero. And thanks for not letting go of me." Everyman quietly bit his lip too. "Of course, Red Racer. You have nothing to thank me for. I only thought of you as what you were, what you will continue to be. Somebody who could be anyone, even a hero if they put their mind to it." "I don't think I could have put it much better myself," Everyman said. Red nodded. He waved goodbye and slowly walked out the door. Everyman just thought silently to himself. But this time, those thoughts were just meant to be kept to him. Thank you so much for listening to the Heroic Adventures of Everyman. Again, this one was a blast to write and record, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Next week, I won't have a full story to share, but please stay tuned to the feed. There's going to be a preview for what to expect from the next story. It's a kind of horror story about a video game reviewer who finds himself playing a game that just really doesn't sit right with him. The format is going to be a little different than how I normally present stories, but I think it will be a nice change of pace. Please tune in next week once all the details are finalized. If you enjoyed, please rate the podcast, give it a like on YouTube, or share with someone else who you think might also enjoy. You can stay up to date with the Heroic Adventures of Everyman by following us on social media. That will be D2 Stories on just about any of the major platforms. Thanks again for listening, and I hope to have you listen again next week.